Hey guys, this is Powell and welcome to my channel. I kind of always wanted to do this. I just never had time to do it, and this month I have some time uh, and just right in time for 2019 Tour de France. So, my hope is to do preview for each stage, do some live coverage, do coverage of each stage, and talk about the whole tour as it goes on. And also, while I'm on the Tour de France coverage, I'm gonna ride a little bit more. Um, so the plan is to ride 5, 6 times a day, between 25 and 35 miles, and see what kind of shape I can be in the end. So I kind of invite you, on that journey, right, with me, and hopefully you can pick up the bike as well and ride a little bit more, right? And the hope here is not to race or not to go crazy, right? The hope here is to get in shape, right, while watching the tour and having fun. Okay, so 2019 Tour de France, right? Wow, this could be a jewel. This could be the icing on the cake, right? Typically, when the tour starts, kind of have the script, right? Kind of like a surprising script from stage one or two. Okay, now this year it's special because we already had the script created 2 weeks before the tour, right? First of all, Chris Froome, oh my God, he crashes, right? A terrible, terrible crash. And maybe if Chris Froome is one of my initial subscribers, hi Chris, hopefully you're gonna be fine, and hopefully you're gonna be back for next year, right? Terrible crash, but um, you know, Chris Froome's crash alone opens up this tour, hands down, right? And out of the respect for Chris Froome, I mean, it just proves how good he is. I think more people now are going to be able to kind of open up and attack, right? So having no Chris Froome, although terrible, is kind of opening up this tour. Now, Geraint Thomas, right? Um, Kind of a lackluster preparation, right? Crashed into the Swiss, although he's okay. His form is kind of questionable. We don't really know what to expect from Geraint in the high mountains. We don't know what to expect in the first week. Remember that, stage 6, I think, big mountains are coming with that, big climb to the Plateau de Belle, those 20 and 24% slopes. This is going to be interesting how his body responds, right? Um, I'm not speaking really about the favorites, but other really interesting thing that was going to, come to mind is how they're going to, the whole Bernal versus Geraint Thomas thing, right? Whether Bernal will be ordered to wait for Geraint Thomas initially on stage 6 if he struggles, or will he be released and go with the favorites on stage 6? This is going to be really interesting. If Bernal will lose time working for Geraint Thomas, shoot Geraint Thomas struggled initially, right, because of his crash in Tour de Suisse and because of the lack of the racing, uh, miles. So this is going to be really interesting. Now, in terms of the road, what I really like is two things, right? This is one of the few Tour de France's that really has a lot of attacking stages, a lot of opportunities, right? So, eh, who can win here, right? Is like an opportunist, right? A guy that must be a fantastic climber, right? That doesn't lose too much time in the two time trials that are in the tour, but also a guy who is an opportunist and attacking specialist, right? But also a guy that can descend like a daredevil, right? Because a lot of those mountain stages end on a descent, right? Rapid, just shot down right to the line, all right? This is why I think Nibali maybe missed his chance this year, right? Now, of course, maybe he didn't know. Of course, he didn't know Chris Froome was going to crash, right? But I think this is tailor-made to Nibali's, right? Of course, now Vincenzo Nibali, because he used his energy in his second place conquest of Giro d'Italia, right? Um, and particularly hard race this year too. I don't think he's going to be targeting, GC, right? I don't think he's going to be strong enough to do that. So I think it's just going to be targeting certain stages, right? But descending skills probably are the best in the peloton, right? Maybe next to Sagan. But I think he will also play a role in this tour. I think his descending skills will get somebody in trouble if it comes to a tight situation like that, right? Um, so, this is probably the biggest chance of the French hopefuls, all right? Badret and Thibaut Pinot, right? Um, the lack of time trial kilometers, the attacking opportunistic stages always between the Alps and between the Pyrenees and Alps, attacking opportunistic stages early on in Belgium, right? And then on the way to Colmar too. So this is all going to create a very special tour, right? And this could be a chance for somebody like Thibaut Pinot, right? Um, or Bardet, right? Or somebody maybe like you know Bernal. I mean, again, if Ineos is going to let him go or not, that's um, to be discovered and to be watched, right? But he may have a chance, right? Um, okay, so you know, the other thing that I really like about this tour is the 8 seconds, the bonus sprints on the climbs. Now, this to me is a huge deal, right? And this kind of touches to the last point that I made about an opportunist. I think a very smart rider who is an opportunist attacker and who is a daredevil descender, of course, must be a really good climber, um, could take this tour, right? Not a top echelon climber, but the guy that's just maybe under, right? Because this is an attacking, opportunistic Tour de France, right? Somebody, one of these guys, may be let go early, right, in one of those stages, and may just make it with a breakaway group, and then you got problems with getting time back. Now, that 8 second bonus on those stages, I think there's 8 of those stages, 8 hills, usually comes on the last hill towards the end of the stage. Now, since a lot of stages end with descent, right, off the last mountain, the smart guy should and could potentially gain 18 seconds, right? Even without creating a gap, right? So he could get 8 seconds on the last mountain, and he could get 10 seconds by winning the stage. So that's 18 seconds, and you've got about what 6 to 8 opportunities there. So this could be very, very big because I think this Tour de France will be the tightest in years because there's no clear favorite and not a lot of time trial kilometers, right? So, as you know, the Tour de France starts in Belgium, and what a great start! What a great nation for cycling. Probably, I mean, the cycling in Belgium is God. Okay, um, and if you have never raced or if you have never ridden in Belgium, I've ridden a few times in Belgium, and the roads are special, right? Crazy fans, number one, always wanting to take a picture, get closer to the right. There's cheer with the flags, with different things, right? The roads are tighter than here in the States or like somewhere else. Another thing is there's always those roundabouts. There's weird switches. There's changes of directions, and wind could affect it for first stage, of course. Um, and there's always things sometimes in the road. I know one time I was riding in Belgium, it was literally a cow that was running, cow, right? That was on the loose. So, I mean, you know, expect the unexpected. And of course, this will create drama, fantastic watching. I think if there's a little bit of wind, there's going to be an absolute carnage on those roads. 160 guys going on those roads. There's definitely going to be a lot of crashes, and I think one of the major guys, one of the major favorites, okay, potential top 10 or top 15 will lose time. Okay, um, stage two. Stage two is going to be a team time trial, incredibly important stage. Um, I think this stage is going to be more important for a mountain climber, for those opportunists, than for the big guys, right? And the reason why I think that is because if AGR2 or a team like Confidence, right, if Thibaut Pinot or Badred or somebody like that will lose 30 seconds, then it's fantastic. What they cannot do is they cannot lose a minute and 30. They cannot lose minute 25 or minute and 40, right? Minute and 40 or minute and 30 puts you in a bad situation. Remember, there's one individual time trial, and they will lose probably in an excess of a minute, minute and 25 to the big guys. So that's already 3 minutes. That's tough. So if the likes of Thibaut Pinot, the likes of Badret, the French hopefuls, their teams need to have an excellent team time trial in order to compete with the big guys. Right? So the question for the team time trial, I think, is not who exactly wins, but what are the time differences between the big guys like Geraint Thomas Ineos team and the smaller teams without big engines like you know like Thibaut Pinot Confidis or AGR2. That's going to be a real question. Okay, I think who's going to win the team time trial. I kind of looked at the you know kind of the squads a little bit at the team rosters, right? And there's really one team that really comes to mind, all right? Full of big engines, okay? It's Jumbo. I don't really see anybody else competing with Jumbo looking at the roster, all right? So I have a little cheat sheet right here. Going back to the team time trial, I mean, look at Jumbo's team, all right? Van Aert, young gun, right? Rising star, just won a individual time trial in Tour of Swiss. Won the sprint there, not the road stage. The guy has a huge engine. Look at Tony Martin. I mean, do I need to introduce Tony Martin? I mean, I think we all know that name, right? German Panzerwagen, right? Big engine. Porsche. Uh, um, the next generation of big German sprinter, Dylan Groenewegen, or Groenewegen, right? I've watched this guy this year. Amazing. Definitely will improve. I think he may definitely win a stage out here in the 2019 Tour de France. Extremely important in the team time trial. Rising star, right? Kind of continuation of a big German sprinter, continuation of Eric Zabel, continuation of Greipel, right? So this guy is going to be crucial. I mean, look at the other ones. George Bennett, fast. And of course, Steven Kruijswijk, right? Kruijswijk will get probably could get a yellow jersey here, right? Um, Good time trialist, not a bad climber, right? Did pretty well. He could definitely crack the top 10. I don't think he is going to, be on the podium, but he could get the yellow jersey, right? So I think Jumbo, all right, is number one. Another one that could compete is Mitchell and Scott with Yates brothers. Ineos is going to be very good too. CCC could do pretty well there, right? With Greg van Avermaet, right? A decent amount of big engines there. Um, and they're going to ride hard because there's no GC hopeful as well. Another one that could do well is Sunweb, right? But I think Jumbo will be pretty untouchable. Um, but the real question here is teams, smaller teams in terms of lack of big engines, right? Uh, with GC hopefuls like Thibaut Pinot or Badret versus the bigger teams and Geraint Thomas. How much time will they lose? How will that break down? Stage 3, going back to France, right? This one is a hilly stage, which again, I love hilly stages. Um, Opportunistic to the end, right? There's hills right towards the end. The final, I think, 500 yards have a 15% ramp. So, of course, there's only one person that you immediately think about when it comes to hills and 15% ramps at the end, and it's Julian Alaphilippe. Okay, he must be a big favorite for the stage, and I'm sure he like red circled that stage in the beginning. Okay, um, it's also going to be important for his polka dot jersey, the best climber fight, right? I think he's going to be involved in that. So, I mean, whether he may take the yellow jersey from Kreiswick, I don't know. Um, it's kind of a big thing because I think the time gaps are going to be much lower on top of that hill on stage 3 than in a team time trial. So probably won't, but we'll see. So who else could compete with him? I think we have, when I look at the profile, let us look at the profile real quick here. Stage 3. Right? I mean, the stage is what, 215 kilometers long. Okay? You got a climb coming right towards the end. 215 kilometers, you got a climb coming at 211, and that puts you just 4 kilometers from the finish. You have that final 500 meters with a ramp it's 500 meters at 8%. You got a ramp at 15%, so definitely Alaphilippe. You got a tough climb, tough hill with a sprint bonus that's coming at 199, 15, 16 kilometers from the finish. That's 1 kilometer at 12%. That's really hard. And then you have other climbs before that. So definitely it's going to be a battle for puncher. Okay? I think if there's anybody in that peloton that could surprise Alaphilippe is Alejandro Valverde, the world champion, right? He could give him a run for his money, right? Before Alaphilippe, Valverde was winning the Flèche Wallonne. Valverde was winning the hill climb races, right? It was not until arrival of Alaphilippe or the rise of Alaphilippe that he started losing um, races like Flèche Wallonne and those hill climbs, Giro d'Italia of other races. I think also maybe Kwiatkowski could do it, right? Big engine in the end, never quiet, right there at the Ardennes Classics, but has won San Sebastian before, has won the World Championship in a great style, won Amstel Gold Race, right? So he could be up there, of course, if he doesn't have team duties. So yeah, that's who I think is gonna kind of compete for the stage three. So I think maybe my guy for a leader's jersey. Of course, it could be a surprise, but maybe it's Kreisvik, right? Um, could be also Garen Thomas, right? But I think Kreisvik is a great candidate because he can climb, and you know, stage three he could finish within the top 10, giving or keeping the yellow jersey. Okay, so this is the first three stages, right? Stay tuned. I'm gonna do stages, the interesting stages, the next week, 3 to 6, and then continue with my previews tomorrow. If you like me, if you don't like me, um, comment, throw likes, dislikes, subscribes to my channel. Um, Maybe you can pick up my challenge and just see how am I doing throughout this month, right? And thanks for listening.